Denise Presnell. I'm a painter, live in a full-time painter, live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I have been doing art my whole life. People ask you when you start, and I don't remember not being an artist. It's just never been a question. I did a lot of landscape painting for 20 years or so. And then just in a couple of years ago, I started transitioning to abstraction. And this particular show has that transition in it, where I've got a few of the abstracted landscapes, and then the full-blown abstraction, which is what I do now. I like the freedom of abstraction, not having to be tied to any source other than just going into my studio and starting to work.
Okay, hi, my name's Debi McCullough, and I'm one of the featured artists, and I think Denise is absolutely an artist. I shy away from being called an artist, but I will admit that I have courage, and I have courage to give it a try, and I have courage to fail. So in addition to the pieces that are on exhibit, I've also brought some pieces today for the opening that have shown that are a good example of things that have failed. And while you can plan and plan and plan on what your finished piece is going to look like, it's quite often a surprise, the turnout. So I opened the kiln, and this was quite a surprise. It had blown up and blown apart in the kiln. It would have been something very similar to this had it worked out. But as in life, not everything goes as planned. So what you'll see in the exhibit is all about Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, and some are beyond. A couple of the pieces that are in the gallery are called combed pieces. So I brought an example of what combing looks like, and you start with the bazillion pieces of glass, and then you fashion them on their end, side by side, and you put it in the kiln, and you bring the kiln up to 1680 degrees. And once it's molten, it's actually, when you open the kiln, it looks like the sun. It looks nothing like this. It is fire hot, red, pink, yellow, and white. So then I take a stainless steel rod and I drag it through. So here's an example of one that's done, and you can see where I've done a pull, and then on the back, how it was simply strips of glass. So I think it's rather magical. Here's another example. You can see there's some pushes and some pulls in this piece. And this is an example of stacked glass. So this is exactly what this looked like when it started. And once glass becomes molten and becomes liquid, it wants to find 1/4 of an inch. So it'll smooth out perfectly to 1/4 of an inch. The glass has to go someplace, so you can see there's a very organic edge. You can slump it just like this, or you can do some cold working to trim that up and make it a nice, lovely square before you end up slumping it. So I hope you learned a little bit about glass. It's an exciting hobby. I highly recommend you make a trip down to Madison to the Vinery. They've got a wonderful studio, great instructors, and they can help you out. Happy glassing.